Hi guys, welcome back and we have been discussing special contracts and today I'm going to start contract of agency which is part of special contracts under Indian Contract Act 1872. As you guys already aware, special contracts include three sets of contract: indemnity and guarantee, bailment and pledge, and the third one is agency. And in this video, we will be discussing about special contract of agency, where it is dealt in section 182 to 238. As usual, before we get into a definition of a agent, principal and agency, let us see an example and then we will go through these definitions given in Indian Contract Act of 1872. Okay, Mr. A wants to buy property. So he wants to buy 60 by 40 site. Okay, he wants to buy 60 by 40 site in a locality. Then he approaches to Mr. B and informs him, boss, I need a site 60 by 40 in the locality and please find a seller who is interested to do it. Okay, according to the directions of Mr. A, Mr. B looks out for sellers of a property in that area and then finds one party finally. So that party is called third party now in this contract, because already he is a first party, second and then third party. Okay, D discusses with third party, B discusses with third party and finally tries to establish legal contract between A and third party. So as A directed, so B acted on that direction and found the third party and establishes a legal contract between A and a third party. In this whole engagement, the person who does this act is called as agent and the person for whom the act was done is called as principal. The relationship between principal and the agent, Mr. A and Mr. B, is called as agency. This is our subject matter. Okay. So the whole exercise, A wanted to buy a property and he asked B to look out for a seller and entrust that work to Mr. B. Mr. B founds the seller and then establishes a legal contract between A and the third party. So A is called as principal and B is called as an agent here, and the relationship between principal and agent is called as agency. So in this whole series, right, the contract of agency, we will be discussing what are the kinds of agencies. First, okay, as usual, we will be discussing definitions, kinds of agency, how to set up an agency, types of setting up agency, duties of agent and principal, rights of agents and principal. So all these points we will be discussing in subsequent videos. Okay, first start with key definitions under Indian Contract Act of 1872. Okay, section 182 defines the term agent as agent is a person employed to do any act, is a person who is employed to do any act for another or to represent another in dealing with the third persons. Very simple, right? So Mr. A wanted to buy a site, is a third party who is the owner of the site. So he approached B and B is going to act upon that request and talk to a third party. Okay, so there is a need of a third party. There must be three parties and the one person will talk to a third party on behalf of other. Okay, a person employed to do any act for another or to represent another in dealings with the third persons. The function of an agent is to bring his principal into a contractual relation with a third party, with third persons, right? We saw here A and third party, they enter into a legal contract of buy and sell of a property. So it is very simple. So the mediator is a person who talks to a third party on behalf of a other, and the purpose is to establish legal contract. So Mr. A agent, yes, might be do some act here, maybe buying, selling or something, but at the same time, or he may represent on behalf of the principal. Either he can do an act or he can represent. Okay guys, clear who is agent? Agent is a person who is employed to do certain acts or to represent another in the dealing with third party, in dealings with third party. And the purpose of this act is to establish a legal contract between a principal and a third party. Then who is principal? Principal is a person for whom the above act is done, or who is represented so. Okay, so the principal is a person for whom the above act is done. Here A, for the A, Mr. B has done this work, so A is principal. Very simple definition, a person for whom the above act is done. Above act is means the agent done the act. Okay, agent does the act. So in this case, agent principal will be called, he will be called as a principal. A person for whom the agent is going to carry out certain activities, for that person is called as principal. And who it is agency? The relationship between, as we discussed earlier, relationship between principal and agent is called as agency. Three terms: agent, principal and agency. With this brief introduction of on a contract of agency, let's see few case studies and then we will talk about other points. Okay, here is a one case where Government of India, it is a case between Government of India and Jamandar. It is a case where one party was identified. So the one party was identified and identified to obtain, or we can call it as a purchase, rice from Nepal, okay, and distribute it to other states, as per the direction of government, as per the direction of central government. Okay, so here this is a task which is entrusted to one party, where he will be obtaining or purchasing a rice from a Nepal and then distributing it to other states as per the direction of the central government. Is this an agency? Answer is yes. It was held that this is an agency because a third party is completely acting as per the direction of a principal, right? He is buying it from Nepal, so because the direction has come from central government, so he is not buying from some any other country, and then he is distributing to states also as per the direction of a central government. In this case, so this is held that this is a contract of agency. Yes, this is a contract of agency. Okay, let us see the other example, Loon Karan versus John and Company. Okay, Government of Assam, in this case, Government of Assam license to one party, they have given a license to one party to purchase, they have given license to one party to purchase yarn, okay, to purchase yarn and sell it to customer. Okay, they have given a license here. Is this a agency? This is not a agency. No. Right? This is not a agency because here they have given just a license. See, for getting a license, there will be some preconditions. Once the person fulfills that precondition, they will get a license. Correct? So the person whoever is having license will not be called as agent. They are not a agent. It is just a license, and then he purchases yarn. He can purchase from anywhere, not only from X party or a Y party. He can purchase from anyone and he can sell it to any customer. But he has to follow certain rules and guidelines for that license. Simple, right? So here Mr. Party is not considered as a agent because he got only a license. The rest all things will be carried out by the party on his own. So, okay, he will be buying a yarn from any of his contracts and then he can sell it to any customer. There is no direction here. But in the case of Government of India versus Jamandar, it was clear direction that he has to purchase it from Nepal and then sell it to a state as per the directions of the central government. So here the entire transaction was controlled. But here on the case of Loonkaran versus John and Company, this was just a licensing agreement, not a agency agreement. Okay, I hope you guys are clear with the term contract of agency and what actually agency means. Then let's see few principles around agency. What are the key principles? Okay, contract is a fiduciary relationship between two parties. Means fiduciary means there is some amount of trust between two parties. Okay, so in the same way, principal here and then agent, there is a trust, right? Whatever act does by agent is principal is liable, and principal is also entrusting a lot of goods and services to him. So he will be owning those things, right? So in that way, it is a fiduciary relationship between two parties. Okay, one party contracts with and authorizes another person to act on his behalf and provides him with the capacity to create a legal relationship between the principal and third parties. This is the definition whatever we said. So the first principle of agency is it is based on trust. It is based on a fiduciary relationship, or it is a trust between two parties. And the second principle on which this contract of agency is based on is it is based on the fact that whatever principal can do by himself, he may get the same done through agent. So if person A wanted to buy a property and he can directly approach the other party and then he could have purchased it. Otherwise, A wanted to sell something, he can directly approach to a other party and sell it, right? But instead of that, A took a route where he appointed a third party. So whatever A can perform, and it can be done from other persons also. So the principle of agency believes that whatever a principal can do by himself, he may get the same done through agent. Whatever he can do it, so the same thing can be done through agent. But can everything can be done through agency? No, there is some exceptions which are in a personal nature. For example, painting. If a principal is a good painter, he can't outsource that to an agent to paint it, right? He has to do it himself. If a principal is a singer, he cannot entrust the agent to sing the song. At the same time, marriage. A person who wants to get married, he cannot entrust that task to someone. He has to do this. So whenever the things of personal nature or expertise comes in, then principal cannot entrust those actions to an agency. So he has to do it on his own. And the third principle is whatever the act of the agent are considered as the act of principal. Okay, for example, A wanted to sell his products to third party, so he approaches B and then B sells it to third party. B sells it to third parties. In this case, whatever, if any problem happens to third party, so A is liable here. Okay, so whatever the act of Mr. B in this respect to the agency, Mr. Principal will be liable for it. Okay, so the act of the agents are considered as the act of principal. So he is just representing Mr. A here, but he is not the real owner of it. The goods are passing through him, but it reaches to a third party. The real owner is A, and he is the transferring the ownership to B. So whatever the act in this case of a B will be treated as a act of a principal or a A. Okay, clear guys? So three principle. The first principle is a trust. Okay, and the second one, any work can be delegated to an agent. So we can delegate any work to an agent because all whatever principal can do by himself, that can be done through an agent, except personal in nature, marriage and principals. And who is liable here? For all the act, principal will be liable. So these are the three key principles of agency. If all these three are exist, then we can call it as it is a contract of agency. What are the essentials of contract of agency? Okay, the first one, competency of principal. So principal should be majority, like he should have attained the age of majority, and then he should be of sound mind. Okay guys, this is a key essential of a contract of agency. Like this was part of again section 10 of we saw that in section 10, where competent to parties, all agreement are set to a contract if there is entered by competent to party by free consent, and then legality of object, and then consideration. So in that way, so majority and sound mind, which comes under competency of a party. So principal should be a major. He should have attained the age of 18 or 21 years based on the rules, and then he should be of a sound mind. He should not be a lunatic or drunkard. Okay, so he should have, or summarily, he should not be of unsound mind. So he should be of sound mind. Okay, and then competency of agent. Indian Contract Act says any person can become agent, even a minor or person of unsound mind can become a agent. But the only point is they will not be able to, they will not be liable to principal. Very simple. So minor can be agent. A is principal here. E appoint B, who is a minor. Okay, and then third party. So A can appoint B as a minor, no problem, because the actual contract is between these two parties, A and the third party, right? So B can be appointed as an agent, but only thing is, in case of B makes some mistakes or defaults, A cannot sue Mr. B because B is a minor. So while appointing a agent, A can appoint, principal can appoint a person of unsound mind or a minor, but at the end of the day, B or a minor will not be liable to a principal. Okay, as there is a contract between A and third party is not going to suffer any loss here because the contract is between principal and third party. So, but whatever the acts of a minor, A is liable, but if anything B has to pay to A, then that is not possible. So minors are not liable to their principals. Then as a special under section 10, consideration is a must in any contract, but in a special contract consideration is not mandatory, as we saw in guarantee, indemnity and other things. So the same way in a contract of agency also, consideration is not mandatory. See, A appoints B as an agent and B talk to a third party. Okay, so there might not be any consideration to B when he deals with A. Okay, he might get commission on a sales here, he can deduct it, but there is not necessary that there should be a consideration between A and B for this particular act. So consideration is not mandatory in contract of agency. There shall be an agreement. It is a basic thing. So to establish a contract of agency, there shall be an agreement. This agreement can be expressed or implied. Okay, but there should be an agreement between principal and agent. Clear, guys? These are the 4 essentials of a contract. Persons of majority and sound mind can only become a principal, but there is no such restrictions in case of an agent. Any person can become agent, but only thing is, if a minor or unsound mind agents are there, then they are not liable to principal. And then the third one is consideration is not mandatory here, and there shall be an agreement. These are the 4 essentials of contract of agency. Okay, so then is a agent servant? Is a agent an agent is servant? No. There's a lot of difference between agent and servant. Okay, the purpose of agent is to establish a legal relationship with a third party, as we discussed now, right? But in case of servant, it is not focused on creating any legal relationship. So A asks his servant to go and give a goods to Mr. B. So he just takes the goods here and then ships it here. That's it. So he is just doing his act here. He is not representing A or something. He is just doing whatever A says to him. But in case of agency, the purpose is to establish relationship, a legal relationship between principal and third party. And agent is not subject to a direct control and supervision of the principal. Right? Agent is here, so principal is in Mumbai and agent is in Chennai. In this case, agent is not under the complete control, right? He is not under the control of Mr. Principal here. So, but he takes some directions here. That's it. Otherwise, agent works on his own independently. Right? The A wanted to buy a property and B was a agent. So agent can talk to anyone there. He is having his own liberty. In case of servant has to perform whatever A says. Okay, you go and talk to Mr. Z. So servant has to go and talk to Mr. Z. And he will be under complete direct supervision, direct control and supervision of the employer. So servant, there is a employment relationship between employer and a servant. So he will be under the direct supervision and under the direct control of principal, the owner or a employer. And an agent can work for several principals. Agent can work for several principals, right? Agent, right? The one property agent, he can do a work for Mr. A also. If Z approaches him he can also do the work for Z. If Mr. K approaches him for him also, he can do it. But servants usually serves only one master. If you are employed in one company, then you will be working for only one company. But usually, otherwise, in a small, like in a housemaids and those kind of servants, they may work in multiple owners, multiple houses, right? But usually, servants are usually serves only to one master. And principal is liable for agent's act. Okay, principal is liable for all the agent acts. In case of master servant relationship, master is liable only for the act which is done, like the acts which are committed in the course of the employment. Okay, in the course of the employment, if a servant commits some mistake, then only master is liable, otherwise master is not liable. And there is a law with respect to a agent's appointment. Any person can become an agent, but in case of servant, there is no such law, right? Here, when master servant, there is no such law. There might be an labor laws which talks about the protecting of a servant, but in Contract Act, there is no section which deals with an appointment of a servant. So the law here it says, right, as a lunatic or a minor or a drunken person cannot employ as an agent, but in general practice these persons can be appointed as an agent, as I discussed earlier. Only challenge is if they appoint person of a minor or a drunken or a lunatic as an agent, they will not be liable to a principal. Okay, they can establish a contract and whatever, but they will not be liable to a principal. Okay, before we conclude this particular section, we will see creation of an agency, how the agency can be created, and then we will conclude this particular video. So as usual, principle of contract of agency can be set up, can be created by express agreement. What is by express agreement? There will be a clear stated terms of condition, stated terms and condition in an agreement. So any person can enter into a create a agency by having a detailed terms and condition document, which is nothing but an agreement, and then set up a contract of agency. Very simple, which is dealt in section 187. Section 187 clearly says a contract of agency can be a expressed or implied. Express means there should be a clearly stated terms and condition, and there should be an agreement for this. And then agency by implied authority. What is implied authority? Here there will not be a specific contracts or an agreement, okay, in case of implied authority. But because of certain act, because of certain situation, people will think that he is an agent of A, Mr. B is an agent of Mr. A. Because of certain act or certain situation, based on something, it is people implied, like people believe that he is an agent of Mr. A. B is an agent of Mr. A. So in that case, this is called as an agency by implied authority. Agency by implied authority may take in the form of by estoppel, agency by holding out, and agency by necessity. Okay, we will see all these things one by one in detail. What is by estoppel? What is by estoppel? Very simple here. If we take an example, Mr. A is here, B and third party. Okay, B says to third party, okay, B says to third party that, okay, I am an agent of Mr. A. Okay, and A listens to it. Third party is also saying to Mr. A here, and A is silent on this. He will not say anything here. In fact, but there is no agreement between A and B that B is an agent of A. But even then B says that, okay, suppose I am an agent of Mr. A and you can buy goods from me. So in this case, A is here, third party seen A, and B is saying openly that I am an agent, and A is not denying it. Though there is no contract between A and B, it is an implied contract that B is an agent of A. This is called as by estoppel, where somebody says by his words or conduct willfully led another to believe that he is an agent. Okay, here B is doing certain act, he is saying certain words, and A is also there. With these words, third party believes that B is an agent. So he believes he creates some belief that he is an agent. That is called as estoppel, right? What is estoppel? Where a person by his words or a conduct was willfully led another to believe that certain set of circumstances or facts exist. The fact is B is not a agent of A, but he makes third party to believe that he is a agent of A because of his words. Okay, so then it is called as a contract by agency by implied authority and by estoppel. When by the words of one party the other party believes that he is an actually agent, then it is called as agency by estoppel. Then question comes, what is holding out? Agency by holding out. See, it is based on a doctrine of a holding out. It is a subset of estoppel. Okay, in estoppel, while we discussing, we said here by words or a conduct. Okay, so by words or a conduct. Generally, estoppel talks about when because of the words, and in case of estoppel, in case of holding out, it is an act of a person. It is an act, physical act. The physical act should be present there. B keep on selling some property on behalf of A, or A is here in Mumbai and he is having a shop in Bangalore. Okay, A is having a shop in Bangalore and B is running a show here. Okay, so then people think that B is an agent of A. So here is a physical act. When physical act comes into picture and people believes that he is an agent of A, so in that case it is a implied authority, agency by implied authority and by holding out. The difference between estoppel and a holding out is estoppel is basically focuses on a words. Here not only words, with an physical activity will also makes other party to believe that he is an agent. Clear, guys? And next, agency by necessity. What is agency by necessity? In few cases, it is something like an agency by emergency. Okay. In case of some emergency, the person may take the responsibility and do certain work. In case of some emergency, a person may take the responsibility and act like an agent. Okay, so in some cases, because of a necessity, a person will be considered an agent. For example, a person travels to a foreign country. Like, for the best example is a ship, right? The person who carries a ship there who sails through ship to other country, and he needed the captain of a ship needs some urgent money to maintenance of a ship. Okay, in this case the owner of the ship will be in India and already but he is in a foreign land. He can approach, because of some emergency, he can approach someone in a foreign land and get the money, so and then carry out his expenses. So in those cases, in any necessity cases, if some person acts on behalf of the other, then that person will be termed as an agent, and the necessity must be proved there to call him as an agent. So why the person wanted themselves to call as an agent? Because all the liability will be on principal. To prove that, he should prove the necessity of that particular act. Okay, that is by necessity. When in case of some emergencies, law allows person to act on behalf of others, and the person who is acting there will be called as an agent. Clear, guys? We discussed agency by express agreement, where there will be a clearly stated terms and condition and agreement, and in case of agency by implied authority, it can take a estoppel because of somebody's word, other person believes that he is an agent. In case of holding out, there will be some physical activity which person does, which will create an impression that he is an agent. And in case of a necessity, because of some business emergency, one person may represent other in emergency cases. So in that case also, court believes that it is an agency by implied authority. Now, agency by ratification. Okay, agency by ratification. We have A, who is a principal. Sorry, he is not a principal right now, and B is here. He is entering agreement with third party, or he is talking to a third party on saying that he is a agent of A. Okay, he is doing certain work, stating he is an agent of a E. Keep on doing that. But in reality, he is not a agent here. In reality, if B is not a agent, but even then he is doing this act. So this act is unauthorized. Correct? It is not an authorized act. So the one option is it can be like an implied authority where third party thinks that B is an agent of A because of the act. But at the same time, it is an unauthorized activity for a time being, right? It is an unauthorized activity. Okay, A realizes that okay, B is anyhow selling a goods on behalf of me. Let me convert, let me ratify is unauthorized act into authorized act. So initially when B is dealing or a party is dealing in an unauthorized way, that act will be converted into authorized act. That process is called as agency by ratification. Agency by ratification. A person is carrying some unauthorized dealings in a agents in a product, and later on principal converts that into an authorized way. So then B becomes authorized agent. Clear guys? Initially the relationship between A and B is nothing, zero here, but still B acting on behalf of A and working with the third parties. But now A realizes it and then makes the transactions of B as authorized transactions. Clear? So the initially the unauthorized and later on it becomes authorized act. So how can this be done? Like what are the key points to be considered while making ratification? Okay. All the actions of a B should be known by principal. Clear? So whatever is doing with the third party, A should be or a principal should be known. Then only he can ratify it. And he should ratify the complete transaction, full transaction, not partial transaction. So B is selling 100 quantities of goods to third party. In this case, A cannot say, I will ratify only 50 quantity goods and not the other 50. Okay. So if at all he is ratifying the agency and ratifying this unauthorized transaction, he should do it for full transaction. Principal must ratify for full transaction, not a partial transaction. And person cannot ratify some agreements which will damage to a third party. Okay, if there is B is doing certain act with a third party, okay, B is doing certain act with a third party which will damage to a third party, those things cannot be ratified. For example, I'll write here, third party is residing in a rented house. Okay, third party is residing in a rented house where they have contract with Mr. A, who is the owner of the house. Okay, so B sends a notice to here stating you have to vacate a house in 3 months or 2 months. So this is an unauthorized act of a B, right? And again, it is affecting third party here. Third party, there is some loss or some damage to third party because they have to vacate the house. They are already on a lease here and then they have to vacate it. So this is some damage to a third party. So A cannot ratify, A will not, under the law, A cannot ratify this particular act, this particular unauthorized act, right? So it is a damage or a loss to a third party. So the contract of agency, the Indian Contract Act doesn't allow to ratify some contracts where it is damaging, the act is damaging to a third party. Only thing is, if the person is selling some goods or some services, in those cases the contract can be ratified. If it is causing any damage to a third party, then cannot be ratified. So there should another few basic principles. The act should be on behalf of the another person. So B is doing certain act here on behalf of Mr. A, and there must be some principal, because he is A is here, who is a principal. Here also the owner is a principal. There must be some principal, and all the parties should be a contractual capacities. A and B and the third party all are should be of contractual capacities, and this ratification must happen within a reasonable time. Okay, B is keep doing it. After 5 years A want to do it, no, there should be some reasonable time in the code of law. So within that reasonable time, the principal must ratify the contract, and all lawful objects, not only the objects which are related to damage and other things are exempt, but all unlawful also exempt from ratification. Only lawful objects can be ratified. Communication to third party. Once the ratified and the contract of agency is established, the notification should be given to a third party. So these are the key points with respect to a ratification. So ratification means the converting unauthorized transactions or unauthorized act of a party into an authorized act and making it as a contract of agency. Before doing the ratification, a principal must know the exact detail. There must be ratification for a full transactions, and we cannot ratify some contracts which creates damage, which create damages to a third party, and the other person should be acting on behalf of the another person, and there must be a principal, and there should be a contractual capacities of a parties, and then the ratification should be done within a reasonable time, and only lawful objects can be ratified. And once the ratification is done, the communication must be given to a third party. And finally, operation of law. It is a case where sometimes legally a court says that this person is an agent. Okay, based on facts and details, court may decide or law might decide that this person is an agent of a principal. So this is by operation of law. Okay guys, that's it in this particular video. What we have discussed here, we discussed definition, we discussed definition of agent, principal, and then agency, right? Then we discussed difference between agent and servant, essentials of agency, and the principles on which agency is built, principles of agency, and finally we discussed how to create an agency, creation of an agency. Okay, with this I am closing this particular video, and in the next video we will discuss kinds of agent. Okay, that's it guys. Thank you very much, and I request you to please subscribe my channel